Once again, it's time to head to the classroom. Today we are going to be learning on feed formulation with Mr. Usenu. So let's head to the classroom and learn how to make feed.
We are going to look at the selection of the ingredients for feed. These 5 key nutrients we derive from the feed ingredients, which is the protein, carbohydrate, lipid, that is in bracket, fat and oil, mineral, vitamins, and water. How do you select the raw material you will use to compound the feed? How do you select the raw materials? Virtually all animal has protein as its content. Virtually all plants has carbohydrate. And if you want to compound feed, you need to have 1, 2, 3 of these varieties of ingredients or materials you combine together to get your feed. So what are the criteria you will use to select each of these ingredients? We want to look at that first before we actually come to our topic today. The first thing you look at is the ingredients you want to use, the economically okay for you to use. What I mean by economically okay, is it so expensive? For instance, I want to take maize, I want to take rice, I want to take sorghum, I want to take other plant series. I consider the one that is that will give me enough carbohydrate. Is that not? Enough protein. And at least I will derive vitamin from it. But if the one I will select out of all this is very expensive, it means that my feed will be very, very expensive. Is that not so? So that brings us to the cost of the raw materials which we are going to select. You must consider the cost. This I want to combine together because generally the formulation of feed is combination of all these ingredients that will give us these nutrients. The quality of the nutrient we need will be defined. So the combination of all these raw materials that will give me this nutrient will be the one I will use to formulate the feed. And if I decide to select the one that is very expensive, it means that my final product, which is the feed, will be very, very expensive. So we have to consider the economic value and, unquote again, the cost of that raw material. Because you don't have them, you are going to buy them. Is that not so? Good. We'll also look at the nutrient value, which we have also discussed all through yesterday. Those nutrients, will these ones give me the right nutrient? For instance, if I use maize, can I get enough carbohydrate? Can I get enough protein? Can I get enough vitamins from this? All this you will consider. Then you look at the availability of those raw materials. I want to compound my feed. Will they be available for us to use? Now we have an experiment ongoing in the site here. A man just, the man is working on this guinea grass. Instead of wasting them, they constitute nuisance to us. Why not use them to act as an alternative to some of these common ingredients that we use? So he's working on that in the lab there. He will come up with his result, and if the result is okay, instead of us going for expensive maize or going for expensive this particular raw material, we just cut guinea grass and begin to use them. I hope I'm communicating. So we also look at the physical properties of those raw materials that we're going to use. All what we're doing is the selection of the raw materials you will combine together to make your feed. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Now, yesterday we talked about the classification of the feed ingredients, which are carbohydrates, protein, lipid, fat and oil, mineral, vitamins, and water. Those are the classification of the feed ingredients. Then another key thing you want to look at in classifying the feed ingredients, of all these that I've told you, there are two key nutrients that are required to look at carefully for when compounding your feed. There are two key nutrients you look out for when compounding your feed. That is the protein and carbohydrate. The protein and carbohydrate. Naturally, I don't know if we can still remember yesterday, we tend to discuss what role do the protein play in the body. Can you still remember? Okay. They help for body maintenance, repair, growth. Beautiful. So protein play a vital role. You want to raise broiler, which is your key study or primary study here now. Broiler is a form of birds you raise for meat production. You want to grow the meat so fast. It therefore means you require enough protein so that the broiler will grow fast. Is that not so? You cannot say you want to rear broiler and then the protein level you want to include in your feed will be very low. And that is why when we started with super starter. And I remember I told you that when the animal is young, the rate of growth is high. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
Good. So protein will be looked at critically in the formulation of animal feed. Another key thing we look at for in the raw material or the nutrient we require is what? Carbohydrates. Carbohydrate is the major source of energy in the feed ingredients. Though all other ones are useful, but these two key nutrients is vital to the production you are going to make. I want to formulate feed for this animal. I want to formulate for animal B or animal C. You have to consider the protein content, which we now call the crude protein in that raw material. And then the energy level, which is a function of the carbohydrate. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
For every raw or material you use to prepare feed, there's always protein in it and also carbohydrate. So we want to classify all this raw material into group. The carbohydrate group, what? The protein group. So we use the protein level in any raw material as a source of that classification. When the percentage of protein in any raw material is less than 20%, that material is a carbohydrate material. Am I communicating? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I bring you down. If I have maize, you know maize. I take maize to the lab to analyze. And if they analyze the maize, they tell me that the crude protein inside the maize is less than 20%. We say that that maize is a carbohydrate raw material for animal feed. Are you with me? Yes. Then, if you analyze and it's greater than 20%, we say what? It's a protein raw materials. Okay? So we will end this classification at this level. Each of these method of feed formulation will introduce each of these things gradually and you will get acquainted. We are starting today, like I said in our timetable, a method we call the Pearson method of feed formulation. Pearson method. Some call it Pearson method. But I think this is the right one. Of feed formulation. Okay, take the first one. You understand the classification of the carbohydrate and whatever? Did you understand it? I said the classification of carbohydrate. This group is carbohydrate group. This group is protein group. Like we cited here. If I take, let's assume you are a raw material, I take you to the lab for analysis for this nutrient we listed, protein and all that, and carbohydrate. I analyze you, and I discover that the protein, because you have protein, you have carbohydrate in you. So if I analyze the raw material, I will discover that the protein content in you is less than 20%. We say such raw material are carbohydrate materials. I hope I'm communicating now. But if we analyze and the protein content is higher than 20%, we say such materials are protein materials. I hope I'm communicating now. Good. Now, another way we classify some of these raw materials, we say we use human to classify them. For instance, maize, you eat maize, is that not so? And maize, we also use it to prepare feed for birds. But do you eat wheat offer? Do you eat wheat offer? Have you seen wheat offer? You have not. Okay, let me bring you down. Have you seen cassava peel? Yes. Do you eat cassava peel? No. Beautiful. Now, but you eat maize. Yes. You eat cassava, not cassava peel. Yes. Good. So, those feed ingredients that you eat, and you still use it to prepare feed for animals, birds, livestock. When you say animals, all of us, so let's say livestock now. When you use it to prepare feed for livestock, such raw materials are called conventional raw material. What do I call it? Conventional raw material. But the one you don't eat, it's only animal you use it to prepare feed for. They are called non-conventional raw material. Conventional is the one that you can eat and you can still use it to prepare feed for animals. But non-conventional is only the animals you can use it to prepare feed for. For instance, your cassava peel. You don't eat cassava peel, but you can use it to prepare feed for animals. That is non-conventional. But for instance, maize, you eat maize. You can also use maize to prepare feed for animals. Is that not so? They are called conventional raw material or feed ingredients. Have I made a point? Is it clear to us? Okay. Before we go to the Pearson method of feed formulation, let's run through what we have just discussed today. First of all, we look at the classification of the ingredients for feed, classification of the nutrients you get from the raw materials you use in formulating feed. The nutrients, we talk about protein, we talk about carbohydrate, we talk about fat and oil, mineral, vitamins, and water. And when I say for us to select the raw material to prepare feed, in order for us to get this nutrient, we have to look at certain issues. The first one I said is that material economically okay? If it is, when I say economically okay, is the price of the raw material very expensive in the market? Is it difficult for us to get? Is it readily available? These are some of the things you look at. If these ones, you find that they fall into your requirement, you buy that raw material. Because we have several raw materials that will give you carbohydrate. We have several raw materials that will give you protein, which are the two key things we are going to look at in this feed formulation. Are you with me? By the time we go to the other two methods, we'll go in detail. But I just want to start with the simplest method of feed formulation. In formulating feed, you look out for the crude protein of the total feed you want to formulate. Hello? In formulating feed, you look out for the crude protein of the feed you want to formulate. You remember I told you that every ingredient has carbohydrate, it has protein. Is that not so? And the protein that is contained in each of the ingredients you want to use is called crude protein. And therefore, if you formulate your total feed, for instance, I use each person here as worked on it and came up with a method of such calculation. When we go to the other method, I will make it clear to us. But for the purpose of this simple way, I want us to move from the simpler one to the more complex one. For you to calculate or to formulate feed for livestock, you have to take a basis, the basis of 100%. That is, you use 100% as a base. When I add all the raw material together, the total will give me what? 100 kg, not percent now. Because we are going to weigh the different raw materials. Are you with me? So we are going into that when we are going to do the algebraic method, try and error method. We'll go into that in detail. But I want us to start with the simple one for you to know what we are aiming at. Now, let's assume we want to prepare feed for essay so that essay will grow well. And we are asked that the feed we want to prepare for essay should have 40% crude protein. Crude protein needed for essay feed is 40%. Now we have a chart which will look into in detail when we really want to go, when we want to take the other 2 steps. The chart gives us the dry matter in every of the raw material you will select from. For instance, the raw material they put here, let me just read them out. We have blood meal here, we have bone meal, we have brewery dry waste, we have cassava flour, we have cassava peel, we have cotton seed, we have fish meal, we have fish meal are classified into several groups. Fish meal from tilapia, fish meal from salmon, fish meal from several other distinct. Then we also have feather meal, very important. We have granite cake. We have guinea corn. We have millet. We have maize bran. We have oil, we have palm kernel meal, we have premise, we have rice offer, we have salt, we have full fat soya, we have soy meal, we have wheat meal. So of all this, if you want to prepare feed, you have to consider the value of the nutrient in them, the quality of the nutrient in them. You remember when we're looking at this nutrient, we talk about some vitamins, which are very essential also. There are some raw materials, for instance, like the soya, like the granite cake, they all have high protein as plant protein. Granite have its own plant protein. But soya is always preferred to granite. Why? Because you remember I talked about the smallest unit of protein, which is that? What is that? Amino acid. The smallest unit of protein is amino acid. This amino acid, there are some also amino acid we call essential amino acid in all these plants. Soya has a very good amino acid that helps the growth of livestock. Why? It has amino acid that is limiting in all other series. I said soya has amino acid that is limiting in all other series. What do I mean by that? If this is rice, this is millet, this is wheat, maybe we are looking for a particular amino acid, like lysine, for instance. And we are expected wheat, rice, maize to contribute maybe 5% into the pool of protein. Some of these raw materials, their contribution is so limited that the one that soya will contribute will augment for the shortage. Are you with me? That is what I mean by soya has a limiting, it cares for the limiting amino acid in other series. And so that is the simple reason. When you are formulating feed for all animals, soya is very important. So in this Pearson square method, it's called Pearson square method. Let me complete full writing. Square method. This man, Pearson, consider a square, Maggie cube, for instance. This is a square, equal side. Is that not so? Hello? So Pearson consider a square and try to use the square to calculate the crude protein required for a particular livestock feed you want to prepare. Like we say we want to prepare feed for essay that contain crude protein of 40%. Essay. Look at it very well. Because we are preparing this feed for you. Now, what we do, what Pearson did, is that if you are given this one, you now put what you are looking for at the center of the square. You put 40 here. Are you with me? So he took two raw material. The first raw material he took fish meal. And the fish meal he took fish meal, put it here at this edge of the square. Fish. He took fish meal of 72%. He took another raw material, he took maize. Maize of crude protein of 8.8%. Hello? You know, I told you that a consideration of the crude protein, which is the key thing, the other one is the carbohydrate, which is source of energy. Each of them, we are going to go into that when we go to the other part of the discussion, the calculation of this. But we want to start from the simple one, then we'll gradually graduate to that. Assuming you now pick about 9 ingredients you want to use to formulate the feed. And of each of these 9 ingredients, each of them has carbohydrate, each of them have protein. And you want to use this Pearson square method to do your calculation. Pearson square method creates room for 2 raw materials, which you have this edge of the square and this edge of the square. And I said, before you cannot go into this method, you now do your classification of which feed belong to protein, which of them belong to carbohydrate. In our classification, we're able to classify here in the class that these raw material, they are all carbohydrate raw material, 6 of them. 6 of them, you now take the average of their weight. The average of their weight means 6 of them has been compressed to 1. Is that not?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that? The average of them, average of the 6 people is 1. Let's assume this one contributed 2, you are contributing 3, you are contributing 2, you are contributing 3. So 2 plus 3, 5. 2 plus 5 plus 2, 7. Plus another 3, 10. Which means the total of this your contribution is 10. But the 10 is the whole sum. I want to take average that will represent all of you. So what I do, I will not divide 4 by 10. So what I get is the average representing all the protein raw material of different weight. Is that okay? Yes. So that average is what I will put here. The same will be done for the carbohydrate. That average I will put here. From here you can do the rest. Is that not? If you cannot, it's the same principle. You now subtract here diagonally. You subtract because this is what you are looking for. Subtract this from this. Don't mind whether it's negative or plus. Whatever thing you get, put it at this edge. Do the same from this. Whatever thing you get, put it at this edge. What this one is simply telling us is that after you have done this, you add these 2 together, you get this result. So take percentage of this total, you get a result. Take percentage of this total, you get a result. The result you get here, stretch through it. This is the contribution of the fish meal. Stretch through this one. This is the contribution of the maize. Because it's average. This one you took, the average, what you took that you are going to weigh from each of whatever to make 100 kg, the same way you took average You reverse the average with this one. You share this one again among the 4 people. What you have calculated. You share it among the 4 people. If you share it, you now get what each person will contribute. Is that clear? Well, let me run through it again. Now, let's use what I have. Now, just settle your mind down. Don't sleep. Be free. Be free. Be free. Now, this is maize. What this man says is simple. He said for you to calculate the crude protein, what they asked him to calculate was SA crude protein. What was SA crude protein? He said put it at the center of this square. And the crude protein of fish after laboratory analysis was what? What of maize? 8%. This what you know. From this that you know, they said use it. If you add these 2 together, the weight of these 2 that you will add together should make 100 kg. All you just know is the crude protein. But how many of it you will measure, you don't know yet. How many quantity? I don't know whether you are following me now. Now, ordinarily, I use 2 of you. Maize, protein. In you are made up of 50 bags. In you are made up of 60 bags. But the analysis of the crude protein inside you, if you pack small one like this, the analysis of crude protein is 72%. If you pack a small one of you, the analysis of the crude protein of maize is 8.8%. But we have so many of you, so many of you. They now say that the feed you want to prepare for SA should be what? 40%. So how many quantity am I going to measure from her? And then measure from her. I add it together to give us crude protein of 40%. How many quantity? Because what I will measure from you will contribute a part of the protein. What I will measure from you will contribute a part of the protein. Are you flowing with me? So is that quantity we are working out? Is it for you to get that? Is it draw a diagonal line across the square? Minus whatever thing you have and put an answer here. When we minus this from this, we have what? 32 at this edge. He said draw another one across like this. When you minus this, you have what? 31.22. When you add them together, no, let's go the percentage. When you add them together, add these 2 together, what do you have? 63.2. You have what? 63.2. So because this is the total, it's like the way you find average that time. This is the total. Yeah, I want to convert it to percentage that this one will contribute to this total. I will now say this one now, 31.2 over 63.2 times 100 over 1, because we want to get the percentage. The answer we got was what? 49.37. We get 49.37. Are you with me? Hello? The same thing applies to this. 32 over 63 times 100 over 1. What do you have? 50.63. And you remember I told you that the basis for every feed formulation, you take 100 kg at a time, which means you measure 100 kg at a time. So if we are measuring 100 kg, it means that out of the 100 kg, we are going to measure fish meal. And I say, after you have gotten that answer, whatever thing you get at the end is controlled by this one. Whatever thing you get at this end is controlled by maize. So you are going to measure fish meal of 49.37 kg. You are going to measure maize of 50.3 kg. And if you measure the add them together, you get your basis of what? 100 kg. Is it understood to that point? Hello? Is it understood to that point?
Sir, this 49.37 plus 50.60. How do we arrive at 100 kg?
See now. 3 plus this, 10. Put 0, carry 1. Add it to this, it becomes what? 4. 4 plus 6.
10.
Put 0. Put your point, carry 1. Add 1 to this.
10.
Add it to this. 5. 50 plus 50. Because I didn't put the point.
My question is, they gave us 40 to 5. 40.
Yes, crude protein.
How did we get this 72 of fish?
This is what is naturally in here, in this one, the chart they give to you.
Okay,
These are already established figures.
Okay.
You are not to look for it.
Okay.
You are just, we have 72 crude protein, we have 63 crude protein for fish, we have 82 crude protein. You understand?
Okay,
local fish is about, I think 46, 40 something crude protein. But foreign fish is up to some are 80, some are 72%. And so whichever one you want to use, if it is local fish crude protein, you can use that of 42%. It's already established fat.
okay.
What you are just looking for, the quantity that you will weigh from fish meal, the quantity you weigh from maize, which is this. And if you weigh these two, each of them will contribute. This one, the contribution of this 50.6 kg you weigh is 4.45. While the contribution of the other one was 35 point, I mean 30 what?
35.55.
Good. So when you add the two together, you get this 40. To round up, like before we started, we were able to review what we did yesterday, and we talked about the 5 key feed ingredients, feed nutrients that we derive from the raw materials we use in formulating feed. And those nutrients you know very well, which are beautiful, beautiful. So we went further to say that for us to select for the numerous raw materials of products, we have to consider economy, cost, availability. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Then we went further to say that after selection of these raw material, we can classify them into 2 major groups, either carbohydrate or protein. In the classification, we now said what? Less than 20% is called what?
Carbohydrate.
More than 20% is called what?
Protein.
Beautiful. We went further to say, under the classification, that the raw material that human consume and animal also consume in feed formulation is called what?
Conventional.
Beautiful. The one that only the animal consume in feed preparation is called what?
Unconventional.
Wonderful. So, after getting that basis, we now went further to start how you derive the crude protein of a particular feed. And that was what brought us to Pearson square method, which we will be discussing. Okay? So please try to read it up. You know, my usual way, there must be one question from Abby. So you have to practice it. Okay? Differentiate between conventional and unconventional. I give an example. Okay? Any other question? If there is none, we can call it a day. See, I have one good advice to give to you. I know you are more of the social or social sciences oriented. There is no challenge that is too difficult for you to solve. There are people who solve issues like this. The person that taught me this feed formulation calculation is a female. You understand what I'm saying? So just put your mind into it. Zero your mind and understand what I am saying. I am interested in this method and the algebraic method. The other one, try and error method. That one will just scatter your head the last day. I will just say it. If care is not taken, I may not say it. But if you have this, you can do with the algebraic method and this one perfectly. Are you with me? But we'll go through the three methods for the end of the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
If we can use this method to solve it, why then are we introducing algebraic method and trial and error method?
No, we want you to be vast about it.
What if you have more than two meals to work on?
That is the question Faith asked. That is where you now take average and classify into protein and carbohydrate product. Abi? Yes, you want to ask again?
Before we get that average, we have to use this first method to get each of them out.
No. Before you put in your value here and here, this time around, you don't even say maize. Just say CHO, carbohydrate products. Carbohydrate. No, let's, you know what I'm saying now. Abi? Average protein. Before you get this one, this value, you take the average first. Are you with me? It's easy. You look at this paper. Hello? If we are combining three things, they are here. If you are combining 3 items or 4 items, for instance, you want to use guinea corn, you want to use millet, you want to use maize, all these one are carbohydrates. You will look, you should, the crude protein of these carbohydrates are here. You pick it, one is, I think one here is 9.3, 1.1, 10.0. Then you do the average of the 3. Are you with me? Yes. Is this average of the 3 that you put in the position of carbohydrate? Then you look at the one for, you know how to classify protein and carbohydrate now? Less than 20, more than 20. So if it's more than 20, you know there are proteinous items. You look at it here, take the average and put it here. Is it clear now, Stephanie?
Yes, sir.
It clear to you too?
Yes.
Beautiful.
So,
Yes.
I have a question.
Go
We're
ahead.
talking about conventional raw materials, and you gave only one example. Any other example? You gave maize as conventional raw material. Any other example?
There are so many examples.
Like,
You eat meat now.
okay, yes, sir.
You eat fish. Abi? You know when you grind fish, it becomes fish meal.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Abi?
Yes, sir.
There are so many.
And the Unconventional.
Unconventional. Like wheat brown. Do you eat it?
No.
Brew wheat. Do you eat it?
No.
There are so many. Is it clear to you? You know, I mentioned cassava peel. Eh? Yam peel. Do you eat yam peel? Rice. Do you eat rice? But do you eat rice bran? Any other one?
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, engineer.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're
So that
welcome.
was such a beautiful class and very educative and interesting you gave us today.
You're welcome.
So how was the class for you?
Beautiful. I think the contestants are responding well
Okay.
to what I give to them.
So we had a lot of maths today in class, and usually when we think of agriculture, we don't think about so much mathematics and figures. It was very shocking for me personally.
Yes. Well, you need it because anything that has to do with life, you need to add one or two things together. It's just like you are saying a medical doctor, if he doesn't have a knowledge of mathematics, he cannot take care of animals, the humans he's treating. So the same thing applies. You are talking of the food you eat, you must know the quantity of the food, you must know the nutrient level of the food you are giving. That is why you have one or two things added together.
Okay, so there are some persons that are into agric locally.
Yes.
They don't really have knowledge of this whole maths
Yes.
thing we did today.
Yes.
How does that affect their production?
They don't need to have all that.
Okay.
Because what we are doing to our contestants here, we want to actually put them in a good footing. They should know the composition of the feed they are giving to their animals. Like the local farmers, you can easily walk to the stores where they sell animal feed and buy. They will give good ones to them. But for these that are coming in to know the nitty-gritty of how to raise bird, they should be able to know the composition of the feed they are giving to the animal. In case they have issues, they should be able to trace the issue to where it comes from.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow, that was a lot of maths in today's class. They really told us in secondary school that you cannot run away from maths. I'm not sure the farmers expected to have a lot of maths going on here, being that they came to farm, but we really cannot run away from maths, and obviously that was it in today's class with Mr. Usenu. It was a lot of fun, a lot of figures, a lot of maths, but it was very interesting. I hope we learned a lot. And that's it for this section here on feed production and our class. See you in the next section.